Welcome back to Tasteland. I am your co-host, Francis Zira.
And I'm Daisy Alioto.
And Daisy, we are not speaking to anybody today. No guest.
No, we are not. Just us two.
Mm-hmm.
Like old times.
Like old times. Real heads who have been listening for 66, 67 episodes. I think this is episode 68. Will remember we didn't even have a guest for the first 3-4 episodes.
No, guests weren't invented yet.
Guests weren't invented yet. Yeah. we were the first podcast and also the first podcast to ever have a guest on, actually.
It's crazy.
Anyways,
it's going to be a whole section of the Wikipedia.
on a podcast or on Tasteland?
Controversies, the invention of podcast guests.
Mm-hmm. So I watched a movie last week
tweets
about the invention of the internet that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about when we had Adam on because I had just seen it the night before, but I did not get the chance to. It's called Lawnmower Man, 1992. Pierce Brosnan stars as a kind of mad scientist who works for the government. It's one of those movies that I'm sure, like, I think when I looked it up on like whether it was Letterboxd or Rotten Tomatoes or whatever, it had like a 2.5 out of 5 rating. And it's not like, it's one of those movies where they use like 3D animations and visual effects and it looks like an arcade game. Like it's like so bad, but it's about the invention of the internet in that I'm going to spoil it a little bit. There's this guy, the Lawnmower Man. He is an idiot, a moron. And Pierce Brosnan makes him smart by injecting him with stuff and putting him in virtual reality where he gets smart really quick because by virtue of virtual reality. So it's kind of like a movie about how the internet makes us smart, but maybe too smart. And the Lawnmower Man, I won't actually, no, I don't want to spoil it too much, but I would recommend it in that it's not like, it's a rich text. You know what I mean? It's a rich text.
That does sound interesting. I would like to watch it because I love a rich text. It sort of dovetails with a book that my husband has been reading about Timothy McVeigh. That's like, it's conspiracy theories, but it's not like there's no conspiracy that's like he didn't do it. He definitely did it. It's more like how influenced was he by other actors, potentially government actors. And so I've been hearing a lot about that. Like we were running early this morning, watched the train early, and I was like, well, don't get out of the car. It's cold. Sit in the car. And then I was like, since we're here, I guess you can just tell me as many Timothy McVeigh facts as you want. And he was like, really, Daisy? And I was like, really?
Christmas came early this year.
Christmas came early. I found out last night that Ben has been calling McNally Jackson Mac Jacks.
Mac Jacks.
Which infuriated me because it's really catchy and I'm going to do that now. So I was thinking maybe for Christmas I can get him a custom like version that looks exactly like the McNally Jackson tote, except where it says Mac Jacks.
You could, there's like a tune there that's instantly coming to me. It's like, take me out to the bookstore, buy me some Mouse Garden Mac Jacks.
There we go. Yeah, that's God. Really catchy.
That's what I'll be singing when I go caroling this year.
We saw Frankenstein, and I haven't been able to get out of my head. First of all, the fact that Frankenstein was Jacob Elordi is distracting.
I don't think it works. I think Elordi of these new guys, you got what, Harris Dickinson, Jacob Elordi, and Austin Butler.
Mm-hmm.
Elordi, if we're doing a Marry Fuck Kill, you're killing Elordi.
Wait, there's the other guy too who was in the Sydney Sweeney film and the Assassin film. What's his name?
Well, let's look it up. So wait, was that Sydney Sweeney Assassin?
I put him in the same cohort. No, he was in the Sydney Sweeney rom-com.
Oh, no, you're talking about the guy with the face.
Yeah, you don't think he's part of the same cohort?
No, he's not young enough. Yeah, he's too old. You're talking about Glenn Powell, right?
Yeah, Glenn Powell's
no.
Okay, fine.
Look, okay,
well, he got famous around the same time.
Okay, yeah, Glenn Powell age. Okay, Glenn Powell, 37. Okay, he's younger than I thought. Jacob Elordi,
he's
28. Harris Dickinson, 29, and Austin Butler, 34. So Butler kind of falls right between them, but I think he's still he's valid.
Well, here's the other thing with Frankenstein. So he was supposed to be he was like a patchwork of skin, right?
Yeah,
but he really looked like the way that the makeup is in somebody that I used to know music video.
Yeah,
like I looked it up after, and I was like, also got distracted. How do you say that band's name? Gautier?
I think I don't know. Gautier is how I've always
said it. Okay,
yeah.
So like, well, you also were pronouncing pony.
I don't give a shit. You know, right. we live in our own little worlds, and don't puncture mine. Don't puncture mine.
Okay, I won't. So that was distracting. Then after, like, I liked it. After, you know, my husband maybe took a gummy, and you know, as we're drifting off to sleep, he's like, I have an issue with this movie. And I was like, well, this will be good.
Only one?
Well, it turns out he had a couple. Okay, he was like,
it's to be expected.
It's weird that we never saw his hog. And I was like, well, he has one. And he was like, does he? And I was like, yeah. Like, he has all the body parts. They just didn't show us his hog. They probably should have. And then he was like, does he poop? And I was like, yeah, Frankenstein poops.
This is like, but okay, come on. This is such edible brain. Like, does he poop? It's a movie. We don't go to the movies to see characters go to the toilet, right?
I think he just wanted like a little bit of a hint that
he wanted something, a hint of the profane.
A human digestion system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because isn't the whole point that he's just as human as any of us?
Right. I mean, I wouldn't call it a plot hole that we don't really have answers on this stuff. I do think it is implied that he could procreate or have sex. So like he has to have a hog. Anyway, whoever wants to write Frankenstein's hog as like a spinoff, you're welcome.
Hog of Frankenstein.
Hog of Frankenstein, yeah, exactly.
I've been to the movies a couple times recently and seen the trailer for the new, I think it's just called The Bride, the Maggie Gyllenhaal. Is it Gyllenhaal or Gyllenhaal? Oh. Because now you've got me second guessing myself.
Well, we live in our own world. Don't
okay, God damn it. Anyways, the Maggie Gyllenhaal directed Bride of Frankenstein movie with Christopher Nolan. No, not Nolan. Christian Bale. And also brother of Maggie, Jake Gyllenhaal. It looks really bad. I don't know. But the Frankenstein looks more Frankenstein-y than the Elordi Frankenstein.
Yeah. I just kept thinking that's Jacob Elordi. Why is he doing all this?
Yeah. Which is the problem with Jacob Elordi, I think. Whereas when I've seen an Austin Butler movie, he can become the character like in Elvis, right? Elvis is a movie I'll probably never watch again. It's too long, it's bloated, but you know, it's trying to do something. And I believe that he's Austin Butler, or in Dune 2 when he's playing one of the Fade Rautha, I think is the name of his character, and he's so bald, you know, he becomes the character. Jacob Elordi, like when I think of him now, I think of what was that awful Emerald Fennell movie, Saltburn. One of the worst movies I've seen in the last.
Well, she's making another awful movie. Get pumped. Although it seems like the soundtrack's going to be great. I guess her soundtracks end up becoming influential.
She's just a really bad music video director.
That's so true. Wow. Did somebody write that already?
Maybe. I don't know.
All You Baby. Yeah. Like, because that song from Saltburn.
No, the dance floor. You better not kill the groove. DJ. Yeah.
That was like in Ben's Spotify Wrapped.
Yeah.
The year that came out. It was catchy. And so like all these Charlie XCX remixes are gonna like give us like Brat 3.
Yeah.
So I'll probably watch it just because like
Harris Dickinson though, I've only seen him in one movie, to my knowledge, which was Baby Girl, the one with Nicole Kidman. Do you see that?
Yeah. No. Everyone kept trying to get me to see it, and by the time I was gonna watch it, I was like, everyone spoiled it.
It's not good.
Similar thing with that Dakota Johnson movie, like
Materialists.
Yeah, like somebody spoiled the leg length. Oh, never mind.
The leg. What? What about a leg?
Nothing. I'm not going to spoil it for our listeners.
Okay, speaking of spoilers, one thing that I think we both saw, and we'll have to tread carefully around this, but I think we both saw over the weekend was Pluribus.
Well, that's fine because that's been out for long enough.
For
The first two
4
episodes
days.
have been out for long enough. Yeah, I ended up writing something about
I know.
it.
I read it. It was enjoyable.
Did you think it was accurate?
I did. Yeah, I didn't. I hadn't. What you wrote about had not occurred to me at all.
Mhm.
But I was, I having watched the first 2 episodes of this show, I was hungry for something to read about it other than like the the like first couple episodes reviews by all the people who were desperately trying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me to talk about it without going into the spoilers.
Well, I can talk about my part. I don't think my part really necessarily spoils anything. Also,
Spill.
this isn't a show that's like, it's giving kind of explanations as you go along. It's not like, there's not really a mystery at the core of the show. It's more like, what's going to happen? How is she going to navigate this?
How's she going to solve this?
I never watched Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul, but I did read a lot of interesting criticism of the shows. And going into Pluribus, if I had just read a synopsis of the show, I would have been like, that doesn't sound good. But I was seeing enough people that I respect being like, no, it's really good. So I was like, I will watch it. So the episodes have been releasing on Fridays. So anyone who got a screener to review, they have to tread carefully. Not me. I don't have a screener. I've only seen 2 episodes. But, going into it, like with the advertising, it's all yellow.
The premise, for anybody who hasn't heard of it at all, like it's just one sentence. It's like, the most miserable woman on earth has to save humanity from happiness. I'm pretty sure that's like almost verbatim the line.
Right. Like I read that and I was like, that sounds like shit. But then once I realized like what it, like more info, more nuance, which is like, she didn't start off the most miserable woman on earth. Like she just like becomes that.
No, she just starts off ungrateful.
Unhappy. She's already unhappy, but everyone else gets excessively happy. So anyway, like I was looking at the advertising for the show and it's all yellow. Mm-hmm. There's one ad that has a petri dish that has a smiley face sort of like carved into it. It's all yellow. There's another one. It's like all yellow background and she's just kind of like screaming in frustration. Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, file that away. I guess yellow is going to be important here. So going into the show, I was already like looking out for any sort of symbolism around that. And then like indeed, as like a lot of the early action and setup is happening, she's wearing like a yellow jacket. And that sort of seems to be like a symbol of her.
That show really fell off anyways.
Oh yeah. The yellow is sort of like, it kind of marks her as like an outlier.
Yeah.
So, but like leading up to it in her normal life, when we see her life pre this change in humanity, there's like a lot of purple, which is the opposite of yellow.
Which is like the first 3 minutes of the show. Then we move on.
But they lay it on like pretty thick, right? Like she's a romantasy author. Purple is a color associated with her books. This is the title of some of her books. She's signing stuff in purple.
She kind of hates her fans.
She really hates her fans. Yeah. So, also like having read criticism of Breaking Bad, I know that like there's a lot of yellow for the guys that are like cooking meth. It's kind of that color in the show is associated with the people who are involved in the drug trade. So like I know that this is like not Vince Gilligan's first rodeo in doing color symbolism. So I just wrote a blog post that was sort of my thesis of like what is this color going to mean? How is it already functioning? And I had fun with it. So I'm really excited to keep watching the show. I'm interested in your take on this, Francis. I go back and forth between wanting shows to be released all at once and this sort of slow rollout. Like, I think we all miss appointment television, obviously, but appointment television really doesn't line up with the way people consume information anymore. And I know that's like a chicken and egg thing, but I think what's hardest for me is going back and forth between keeping up with series that roll out all at once or are weekly. Because I feel like I would rather adapt myself to one or the other. But I'm curious what you think.
I like a weekly. I mean, this show, we'll watch Saturday Night Live sometimes. Slow Horses. I really enjoyed that show recently.
I think weekly. I'm not caught up on it.
Because if it comes out all at once, what that means is there's going to be like some hungover Sunday where I'm like watching 5 hours of TV while looking at my phone and not really paying attention to the show. And it's just like that just contributes to this like kind of sad state of affairs. So I prefer when it comes out less, because then it does demand my attention more. Because it's like, well, if it's just this one episode, then I'm going to pay attention to it. Whereas if I'm going to be watching 3-4 episodes at once, I know my attention is going to, recede into my phone a bit.
Fair enough. I think like that all makes sense to me. And I think you're probably right. I think for me though, when I have like a Sunday where I'm going to do that, it's like, this is my time to watch TV, but next week I might not have time to watch TV.
Yeah, true.
So if I can watch all of this in one sitting, this might be my only chance to like meet, have my ability to pay attention and freedom actually line up with the release of the show, versus like if this show comes out in like a busy period for me, it's just not getting watched. And then I hear about it too much and never really want to go back.
And then you read about color theory in the show, but you never actually watch the show.
Exactly.
I have something I want to read an excerpt of. I'm not going to read a lot of it because we just don't need to. And let's be clear, I did not read this full article. It's very long. We're talking about a Thomas Friedman piece in the New York Times opinion section. Welcome to our new era. What do we call it? Was the title that drew me in. I was like, okay, well, what's he going to call it? Right. So I'm going to skim through a few paragraphs and just read a couple bits. So he says, I was born in the Cold War era. Most of my career as a columnist was in the post-Cold War. My initial thought was that we should call this new epoch the post-Cold War, but that made no sense. Climate scientists call our current epoch the Anthropocene. Technologists call it the Information Age, or now the Artificial Information Age, so on and so on. None of these labels capture the full fusion taking place between accelerating climate change and rapid transformations in tech, biology, cognition, connectivity, et cetera, et cetera. As a foreign affairs columnist, I now have to track the impact and interactions of not only superpowers, but also super intelligent machines, et cetera, et cetera. I was musing about this one day with Craig Mundy, the former head of research and strategy at Microsoft. I told him that in nearly every domain I was writing about lately, the old binary left-right systems were giving way to multiple interconnected ones, and in the process, shattering the coherence of both the Cold War and post-Cold War paradigms. At one point, Mundy said to me, I know what you should call this new era, the Polycene, which to me was a bit ridiculous. But
can't be doing all that.
You can't be doing all that, but I'll read the last little bit here where he makes his argument. It was a neologism, a word he just made up on the spot and not in the dictionary. Admittedly wonky, it is derived from the Greek poly, meaning many, but it immediately struck me as the right name for this new epoch, where, thanks to smartphones, computers, and ubiquitous connectivity, every person and every machine increasingly has a voice to be heard and a lever to impact one another and the planet at a previously unimaginable speed and scale. So, welcome to the Polycene. It's been an interesting ride getting here, which is what I said when I got out of the Uber at the McKibben Lofts. Yeah.
That was worth the payoff.
Yeah. Thank you for humouring me.
I did have an idea for like a little bit of an abstract essay that sort of touches on this like a year ago, which counts for nothing because I didn't write it. But like, I was actually thinking about the way that it lines up with literature and tropes, where it's like, you had a period, I would say like kind of the new sincerity period was kind of about the individual. Mm-hmm. And then you have certain plots that are about two people. So like a romance plot involves two people. Then you have the affair plot, which is always triangulated. So it's an outsider. Doesn't necessarily have to be an affair, but like stories that really hinge on there being like a triangulation between three parties. Mm-hmm. And then there's sort of like a weird gesture towards like a swingers plot, or even like the 10-year affair where there's 4 people and 2 couples. But what I think I think literature is always a little bit behind, like what it's picking up on, the fact that like stories about the individual, become stories about couples, become stories about threesomes and foursomes, is like kind of like this acknowledgement that like actually like our lives are like a lot more multinodal. Which is, you know, there's no shape. There's no shape to that. It's very hard to create entertainment, whether it's a TV show or a movie or a book, that isn't like 1, 2, 3, 4. It kind of tops out at 4, right? So if you have multiple elements, too many characters, too many inputs, you end up with either like an incoherent, quote, like internet novel that like attempts to reflect modern life but doesn't really, or something that really reverts back to all of these classic plots, which is like fairy tale archetypes, the hero, the villain. I think what he's talking about in a non-literary way is like Cold War, hero and villain central.
Yeah.
People who made stuff during the Cold War, whether it was Rocky or, you know, even singers, you know, because like the music industry goes back and forth between favoring big bands and favoring individuals.
Yeah.
Like America right now, not a lot of bands. But as we also know from the New York Times opinion section, America isn't cool anymore. You know what's cool? K-pop. You know how many people are in a K-pop band? So fucking many. Like there's this inability to capture the sheer amount of inputs that go into the way people are making decisions about their lives, their relationships, the number of people we interact with on a daily basis, just simply could not be captured in a book. Unless you're doing like a Lord of the Rings style map at the beginning, and it's just for like everyone's like situationship and their boss's boss's boss. So the way that we understand ourselves and our culture is like too simplistic to actually reflect what's going on in culture right now. And I think that makes people really uneasy and uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but
also,
we'll have to figure out how to do it.
do people like want from art, from literature, from film, whatever, do they want like a reflection of like the Polycene of now, right? Like, or do they want more that simple story as an escape from it, right? Like if you're already in 15 group chats across your work and personal lives, right? Like, do you want to read about something that like is also immersed in so many things, or do you want that like simplicity of a hero villain plot?
Well, I mean, I think it kind of goes back to something we were talking about with Adam about how do you like respect the reader and how do you separate out the publishing industry from the humanities. I think the publishing industry, the job of the publishing industry is to deliver enough books that people want to read because they make them feel good, to subsidize the books that are important to publish because of the talent involved that don't necessarily make people feel good. The job of the humanities, though, is to tell the truth. And I think a part of telling the truth is to reflect the world as it is, not as we want it to be. You know, as I was sitting here, I'm kind of talking through this in real time. I think a book that did a really good job with this and was responded to by readers and by typical markers of prestige was Rejection by Tony Tilamudi.
Oh, yeah. I have not read it, but I have seen its cover a million times.
It does a really good job being multinodal. I don't want to say Polycene. I just think it's
no, it's too ridiculous.
It can't be what we're calling it.
It's too ridiculous.
But it also like there's something about literature and the soul of literature that is missing from it. And I don't think he necessarily set out to write a timeless story. So it's like, it's not necessarily a problem, but you don't really care about the characters that much. And I think one thing, I was talking with a friend who is designing a course on the internet novel to teach, I believe, at Wesleyan. And we talked about information age. She was going to put information age in her syllabus. And then we were like, what was the first internet novel? And like my first thought was Infinite Jest. That's just like what popped into my head. But, you know, even back then, like trying to capture what he was picking up on where society was going, like it made the book borderline unreadable.
Mhm.
It's big, it's unwieldy. You have footnotes, you have sidebars, almost like hyperlinks that let you double click into different areas. And like, it's been a while since Infinite Jest was written and published. We don't really have better ways to do that, at least not in a print book.
Mhm.
And I think like this conversation and that op-ed is a sign that like we don't really even agree on whether we should be doing that.
Yeah. I'm also now, as we're talking about this, connecting it back to Pluribus, which is also about this, right? It's like about like the desire of like individualism versus like a flattening, right? Like the difficulty and friction of life as it is versus versus like what if life's problems were solved, which is
Totally.
a way of reducing it, right? And like
Yeah.
and I think
Vince Gilligan is the screenwriter, right?
yeah, and maybe director as well.
He makes prestige television. Like Breaking Bad was considered like to be up there with The Sopranos and Mad Men in terms of prestige television, which usually follows these tropes, these hero's journey.
Yeah.
And Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, I say in my color theory piece, just throwing in a little bit of like overall analysis, is like that's about individuality run amok. That's about a character who's like needs for survival. Like they don't stop at surviving. Like they need to survive. They figure out a way to survive, but then that becomes their default mode. And like the ego and the individual and selfishness and Machiavellianism reigns supreme. And then Pluribus is kind of like, I salute him for taking on something so different. It's really at the opposite end of the spectrum because it's a show about like what happens if everything was like too good.
Yeah.
And there was no ego and you neutralized people's survival mechanism and just left one person in the position of defending why we should have pain and suffering and selfishness.
Mm-hmm. I'm thinking of another thing I read this morning in the cut about it was like 4 women on how sports gambling upended their relationships.
Oh wow. Were any of them the gamblers themselves?
No, but it was really dark. It was very dark. It was like it was women of like one woman was 23 and like talking about her like finance guy with from like a really rich background boyfriend and how he has like he showed her his DraftKings account. He'd gambled $300,000 to date because it will show you how much you've gambled, how much you've won. And that one was a little bit more like looking into the future. Like I told him to quit, and then we were watching a game, and like he showed me, and he was like, I saw that he was on it, and he got upset, and I was like, oh, he is addicted. But then another one was way darker, and it was about like this. I think this woman was like 43 or 45, and it was like she married her husband in like 2005, and then already he was addicted to gambling even before the apps. And this gets to the point where like he gets like the FBI breaks down their door, and he's like so addicted. And now he's like, he served time in prison, and now he's like a peer therapist, or I forget the precise term for like other people trying to deal with the gambling addictions. But I'm also thinking of, and this is, if you are listening to this and you haven't seen the last season of Industry, maybe skip ahead 30 seconds right now, hit that button twice. But precisely, yeah, which that was like that was so intense and so shocking, and like because you really kind of think that maybe he's going to get out of it.
I was actually just messaging with Mickey this morning
about
I was asking for his comment on a story that I'm working on with Nishanth about prediction markets. So it wasn't really about the show, but I did see like some spoiler, like black hat Tao Stern hats online.
Oh, interesting.
I really want one, but yeah, Rishi's storyline. God, that was so stressful.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems, that kind of Uncut Gems style buttle episode. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did want to know, like,
I'd finish what I was saying.
Did GLP-1s come up at all? Because like there's
that gambling piece?
Yeah, because like isn't like there sort of like some early research to indicate that they might help with addiction?
No, I didn't read the entire piece. I read like half of it, and then I was looking for articles to talk about today to break the fourth wall a little bit, and I was like, well, I think I've gotten enough from this one. No, more in a maybe more dark bent though. The woman whose husband ended up like, you know, the FBI breaks down the door and such, she brought up how at one point she was like dealing with really intense Crohn's disease, and she was like down to 89 pounds, and like her husband then was like her caretaker, and like, you know, she had been handling financial stuff for a long time, but then he was like, oh, let me take that burden because you're so sick and suffering, and then like now he's controlling the finances. All very dark.
Man, that's so dark.
Yeah. Less dark. Let's talk about Brian Johnson's mushroom trip. Is it less dark? I don't know.
So this is something. Did you see anything about this? So everyone's like said he took a 5 milligram quote hero dose.
Well,
now people are saying
said
he took half of that.
Yeah.
Okay, somebody's saying he took 2.5.
Yeah. I feel like, I don't know. Maybe he's just like so in control of his mind.
He didn't
and body
seem that high.
He didn't seem. Yeah, he didn't seem that high.
He didn't seem high to me. Like,
yeah. And I mean, okay, like we only saw it filtered through like 5 posts from his co-founder of his Don't Die company, whatever that is.
Right. Who is that?
I looked her up. She's the co-founder of Don't Die / The Blueprint.
Is that his girlfriend though? Do you think that's his girlfriend?
Maybe. I don't know. Look, well, this is more the conversation around
I was like,
the
Brian's
post.
little girlfriend. That's
but when he's
cute.
okay, you know, I see him eating this this salad in his 4th update, and he's like, I don't know, a few hours in.
Who would ever crave a salad on mushrooms? I'm sorry.
No, I think more so maybe it's fruit you want at the end, but you don't really want to eat for a long time. But anyways, the point is, I think what's interesting about all of this is like I've come around, you know, for a while. I was like, God, this guy's so annoying. Like, I hate his shtick. And I don't follow him on Twitter, right? But his posts come up as they just do. But I've come around on like it being more interesting of like him being this kind of performance artist
body
of
hacker.
Body hacker of like this certain type of tech bro, right? Like it almost seems like he's this character from that show Silicon Valley, from, you know, however many years ago that was now. It seems like
does look like
he's like a character that escaped from that show. Yeah, he does, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's committed. I think he has deeply held conviction, which is more than we can say for a lot of people in the technology community. The thing that actually made me believe that maybe this guy really did do a significant amount of mushrooms was when he came back online and was like, you guys are all assholes.
Yeah.
But I feel joined in one consciousness with you. And I was like, wow, that does really feel like a sentiment at the heart of
wait, let me
so
the post, I have it up here. The post was also, much love to all of you. It weirdly feels like my consciousness is deeply intertwined with yours. Feels like family. You're assholes and terrible. You're also just mostly assholes and terrible. Still love you all anyways. So he tweeted that Sunday night.
Off mushrooms.
But then yesterday, so about 24 hours later, he quote tweets that original tweet saying, some are misunderstanding this post. It's affectionate teasing. The insult acts as a trust signal, as you never actually say this to a stranger. Evidence shows teasing among friends correlates with higher social bonding, trust, and emotional intelligence. It's real sincerity, which does sound like something you'd say a day after you took 5 grams.
I don't know. Give him some more. We gotta.
Well, he's gonna do it. Apparently, he's gonna do it every month for 3 months.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I just feel like if he does do that, he's going to eventually log off. If I did mushrooms that regularly, I would log off.
You would hope.
I really hope. Like, I would. But I want to talk about something else that went down over the weekend on tech Twitter, which is Marc Andreessen tried to quote dunk the Pope. And so Marc Andreessen being sort of like an untouchable, he did not used to be untouchable. I think that there's been a little bit of historical revisionism. Like, people used to make fun of him. Like, his head is shaped like an egg. We know this.
I mean, there's that amazing New Yorker photo. Oh my God.
Yeah. He wasn't really untouchable until he started getting more involved in politics. But he has been sort of untouchable, like kind of like on a streak for the past at least 5 years. And, but yeah, it was like something cracked. It was like, the Pope,
not that egg,
who was always really like, he was always really interested in AI, right? Like when he first became the Pope, people were talking about the fact that he was interested in making statements about technology and had opinions about it. And so he does this like very nice popey tweet about how people who are making AI and making cutting edge technology should think about the ethics and what's good for humanity. Great. We can all agree with that. No, we can't. Because Marc Andreessen latched onto the screenshot of that GQ Sydney Sweeney interview like a baby duck, and quote tweeted it with a photo of.
Let me read the tweet that he that Andreessen was quote tweeting. So this is from November 10th. Pope Leo the 14th says, technological development has brought and continues to bring significant benefits to humanity. In order to ensure true progress, it is imperative that human dignity and the common good remain resolute priorities for all, both individuals and public entities. We must never forget the ontological dignity that belongs to the person as such simply because he or she exists and is willed, created, and loved by God. And then he references where that's from. So he's just saying, like, yeah, tech is great, but like prioritize human dignity, not like tech for tech's sake.
So yeah, Marc Andreessen responds with a meme, a latent meme that also kind of implies consternation, I guess. But it was like something cracked, and like people who would not normally speak out against him, some of the more like bigger shit posters and like teapot or teapot adjacent, like who I think are willing to get a little rowdier.
Okay, like, you've explained what teapot is before, and I still don't really. It's like I still don't really understand what it is. It's like a weird like.
I'm gonna explain
Twitter
it
brain
poorly.
Part of tech Twitter.
There's a pool of tech Twitter that is like they're more like politically ambivalent contrarians who are equally interested in memeing as well as like philosophy, rationalism, some of these areas of study. They simultaneously take themselves very seriously and don't take themselves very seriously. And I would say like a lot of them don't really have like traditional social lives or skills, but they're not like necessarily nerds per se. If they are nerds, their special interest seems to be like emerging philosophies, and especially philosophy applied to technology. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's a grab bag. And I also will say like there were periods of time where it was a lot more cohesive. I think a lot of that cohesiveness is sort of disbanded. I saw an interesting tweet about this that I should have bookmarked and I'll send to you, but somebody sort of hypothesized like a lot of these people got absorbed into one side or the other. So they either got absorbed into having like regular FANG
so much for the
text.
Polycene.
Right, exactly. They got absorbed into having like regular FANG tech jobs or went to work at Anthropic, or they like fell further down the rabbit hole and now are kind of like weird outcasts that have like gone too far right into certain stuff like
quote tweeting the Pope.
Race stuff that really, or like immigration, like replacement theory stuff that was really never part of the original scene.
Groyperism.
Or issues. Yeah, exactly. Groyperism. So, so then like people are like seeing other people dunk on Marc Andreessen are kind of like, we're allowed to do this now. And it's like, well, yeah, because like he went, it's like if there was one fish bigger than you and you go after the bigger fish. It's like, what are you thinking, man?
You don't go after
it's like
the Pope.
The Pope might be the only immovable object in Marc Andreessen's way. But I think like he kind of overestimated like what people will look to him for expertise. It's like, okay, people will allow Marc Andreessen to refactor himself as a political theorist. They're not going to allow him to refactor himself as a spiritual guy.
Especially at a time when, like, you know, there's been all these think pieces and stuff about how religion is transcendent in Silicon Valley. We had Reggie on a few months ago, and we talked about this with him.
This was like Reggie's Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because his whole thing is like that tech and spirituality and religion are on a collision course. So anyway, Marc, I guess, like deletes the tweet, but people are like, ooh, vibe shift. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, coming on the backdrop of this like government shutdown, which is now kind of winding down, the weird sort of inflection point where like people seem to be turning against Trump on a symbolic basis where it's like knocking down the Eastern Wing was actually like their breaking point and not
Yeah.
anything else. Plus, like Mamdani's election, it was one of those things where like a lot of stuff happens at the same time and people are like chomping at the bit to say vibe shift. Often overstated.
I saw some tweet the other day where somebody was arguing something. It was like, vibe shifts are vibe shifts. It's like, anyways.
Vibe shifts are vibe shifts? Yeah, it's a
really
little bit of a circular definition.
Sorry.
I also think like, yeah, certain stuff where it's like, you know, these are sort of some of the major elections and statements that are kind of the first big political events to happen post ceasefire, where for so long there was a lot of tribalism directed in Silicon Valley and elsewhere into how you felt about what was going on in Gaza. Yeah. And it's like, that's not, you know, post ceasefire, obviously there's still tremendous issues and inequalities happening and violence and
fire not having ceased.
Yeah, like it's like not a real ceasefire, but I think people who were benefiting from that tribalism and sort of like had enshrined themselves in an untouchable viewpoint, like that was already cracking. And now they can't really fall back on that. And so they're trying to kind of re-enter this domestic political discourse, but like that's also changed because now we're far enough into the Trump Trump too, like, where it's like, this isn't Biden's economy anymore.
Yeah. You're saying that there was this binary that was like useful for people to create this tribalism and like feel that they were on one side or another. And with that removed, it's like a couple years of tribalism then dissipating. And it's like, oh, well, where am I standing now when the tide, goes out?
They did that after October 7th. They did it all throughout the election where it's like, obviously it's super easy to deflect by being tribal. It's a binary outcome event. It's like we're not really living in like a binary outcome, two sides period of.
No, we're living in the Polycene.
Shit. I should have seen that coming. Like of like this moment is very multivariable.
Yeah.
Where it's like the economy is neither good nor bad. It's good or bad depending on where you sit in the economy, what industry you're in.
Yeah. Whether or not you are one of the 50 or so % of Americans with the 401k.
We're in like a weird in-between area of tariff policy. So people are like, everyone's like, everyone get more woke now. It's like, everyone get more nuanced now. Like, I feel like the slow ramp back up into woke 2 or dark woke or whatever you want to call it is sort of like this pathway of nuance where it's the internet. It's never going to be nuanced, but people who have sort of gone on autopilot being like tribal are starting to like trip over rocks in the stream. You know what I mean?
Well, if woke 1.0 was characterized by like identity politics for identity politics' sake, maybe woke 2.0 is more of like a class-based politics, right? Like if Zoran's victory is something that is representative of a woke 2.0, like I think that's why, right? He was able to build this like kind of like
I think people will take like, remember like Occupy was like identity politics were sort of used to dispel a lot of the energy that Occupy had brought about. And Occupy was sort of a failure or considered a failure at the time because there wasn't enough of like a singular agenda. Yeah. So it's like, there's a lesson from what happened with Occupy. There's a lesson from what happened with identity politics. And now we have those two lessons and we have an economy that's starting to repeat a lot of the patterns that led us to that point before. So like, what are people going to double down on? I think they're going to realize the message has to be super clear.
Yeah.
Can't be all sorts of stuff. It can't be identity based. And so I think the sides right now are sort of like affordability versus abundance.
Yeah.
Where like abundance is like the vision of a better economy for everyone that still sort of plays ball with like neoliberalism in a lot of ways. And affordability is the like angrier, rowdier, ruder younger sister that like takes that Bernie bro and DSA energy and puts it into advocating like relentlessly and with more singular focus than Occupy for stuff like universal healthcare.
Yeah, well, I mean, this makes me think of one of the earliest lessons I learned, like doing copywriting work, which is like write the outcome, right? You sell the outcome, not the thing that like gets you the outcome. And like the politics of affordability is selling the outcome, whereas I think abundance is like it's illegible, right? Like abundance is not something that you can really sell on that mass scale because it's not outcomes based. It's like, oh, here's the thing, and here are the policies we enact to do this. Whereas like Zoran's affordability politics was like so much more like very simple. Like here's the outcome, and oh yeah, how are we going to get that? Like here's very simple. We're going to freeze the rent, etc. Right? But yeah, I think that outcome based.
Well, and to like go back to what we were talking about with Casey Lewis about like young people recognizing the power of marketing. Everything is marketing now. It's like, which has better marketing, abundance or affordability? In a lot of ways, abundance has better marketing for people who already have power and money.
Yes.
So like, but affordability has better marketing for
people who don't.
And I think that's a really interesting. It is about marketing, right? Like the Mamdani campaign was very well marketed, but it's not enough to just say everything is marketing. You have to really talk about like, who is it marketing to?
Yeah.
And the default right now is to just market to that like really small sliver at the top of the population that's doing well and whose spending is like dragging the median up, basically. But we did. So last episode, we didn't know if Mamdani was going to win. He did. The next day,
a week ago.
I can't either. There are weeks that feel like lifetimes. I went into my email to look at some of our old like emails from college, and I found a thread that I had not found before. I don't know why. Like, I think it's because it was between. It was
better to save the clout surfing of this until after the victory.
Okay, first of all, it was not my intention to clout surf. I thought was this is an interesting slice of life about how things change. Not everybody look at me. I emailed with Zoran at one point.
Yeah.
So it was also not a thread that I initiated. So I had like, when I had looked back on old emails in the past and was sort of reminiscing during the campaign, I was always looking up his college email. Yeah. This time his Gmail came up and I was like, Zoran emailed me from his Gmail. And what had happened was in 2017, he emailed me and he said, I see you're still writing. You're a writer now. And I know you don't really write about music, but like I have the single on SoundCloud. Like, how would you suggest I get it out there, basically? And I was like, I sent him back a lot of advice, including like, you should tweet at Lin-Manuel Miranda, which I want to be very clear. That was good advice in 2017.
You were saying, look, this is not an endorsement. You were saying this is not an endorsement of Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Like,
this is just reading the feedback.
Yeah, but like in 2017, that was good advice. Like it wasn't right now that might
we
be
were only
interpreted
2
as
years
like
into the
passive aggressive, but like Hamilton was hot shit. Like we still liked Hamilton. We weren't bored of it yet. So anyway, like, and then I also like asked a couple of friends, probably Zach Schoenfeld being one of them. We should have him on the pod soon. He introduced me to my husband. So he's a very influential figure in my life. Zach wrote that kaput destroyer piece for the September issue that you were also in. Yeah. I remember I asked Zach, and I don't know who else I asked, what are good music blogs? And then I sent him back a list. These are the places you should pitch: Consequence of Sound, Stereo Gum, Passion of the Weiss.
And Stereo Gum then tweeted their own version of this, right? They tweeted the screenshot of him having emailed them pitching his song, which I don't think they ever responded
This happened on March 27th, 2017. He responded, I'm going to follow up on all of those now.
Yeah.
And then I didn't respond to that because it was like the thread was over, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Purpose served.
Stereo Gum has a screenshot from March 27th or 28th, 2017.
So he took your advice.
Well, it's the same week. Yeah. It's the same 2-day time period. But anyway, the reason I tweeted about it, obviously redacted the email addresses. Jeff Weiss didn't. So like I feel really bad that I'm kind of inadvertently responsible for Zoran's Gmail getting doxxed. But I emailed him back the day after the election on the same thread. Yeah. And I said, just circling back, how did your rap career go? Just kidding, Habibi, which is what we called each other in Arabic class. We saw Habibi and Habibati.
You're not,
so my friend
you're
in Arabic.
You're not being too cute.
Right. Like, we're all so proud of you, basically.
Yeah.
And so I redacted our emails and I sent the screenshot. I was like, sometimes you have the opportunity to do the funnest thing ever. Not intending to clout surf, but intending to be like, isn't it so interesting that in 8 years, somebody who is emailing their old classmate for advice about getting their single out there could become mayor of New York? Like, anyway, that went gangbusters. I'm afraid to check on it. It went mega viral. Yeah. I have my notifications turned off, so my best friend Allison will usually like pet
me
sit
too,
my viral
tweets. That's just because I don't get any notifications.
But then like Jeff Weiss, who does Passion of the Weiss and is actually working on something for Dirt right now. So
fantastic music writer, one of my favorite music writers.
Yeah, he's amazing. And like Stereo Gub and some of the other music blogs on that list went back into their like open tip box and found the old emails from Zoran from that period, but the outreach about that song, and tweeted them out. And then they got called clout chasers because they were like, oh, everyone was like, oh, they only like you when you're famous. And I was like, I would like to be excluded from this narrative because I actually responded, gave him advice, and took his aspirations very seriously at the time. And I am extremely proud to have even interacted with him in the ways that we did and have known each other in the time that we did. But Zoran, if you're listening, I'm really sorry that your Gmail got doxxed, but I did redact it in my screenshot.
It wasn't your
fault. Stereo Gum actually made some more big announcements this week because they switched over to Lead, which is the content management system that Defector uses. And I think we talked about that a little bit before when we had we were on the panel with Jasper, or we did the live pod.
A year ago today, I think, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
Or something.
Again, basically. Symbol of how things change. So anyway, that was a fun slice of life.
One other thing I wanted to bring up, a little less peer. Did you see, friend of the pod, Ariel Rubin, texted me last week. It was just a picture of the Rizzler, but like,
he loves the Rizzler.
He loves the Rizzler. Well, the Rizzler went on a Webby. But it's a picture of the Rizzler in like the Oppenheimer outfit, like at the end of Oppenheimer when he's been talking to Einstein. He's like regretting.
In like that fuck ass hat.
Yeah, precisely. But then he wouldn't send me the link. He was like, do you have a second to hop on this meeting? And hop on the meeting. He shows me this video that came out today. I think we'll see. They might finally get sued. I don't know. There's watch it for yourself.
By Christopher Nolan?
No. It's more than that.
Okay, I'll watch it.
It's basically, I shouldn't say anything. We should end the episode here.
Don't spoil it.
All right. This has been Tasteland.
Well, I was going to do like an Eric Adams. Anything could happen in Tasteland.
Anything could happen in Tasteland. Tasteland, it's...
From becoming mayor of New York to becoming the Rizzler. To
New York is kind of the Tasteland
dunk tweeting the Pope
America.
To being dunked on by the Pope.
To drinking Dunkin' with the Pope.
To buying a book at Mac Jack's. To Frankenstein. Well, this is just to bring it home. When Ben was like, does Frankenstein poop and where? I was thinking about that phrase. You know the phrase where it's like people...
Everybody
da-da-da, and said, does the Pope shit in the woods?
Oh, yeah.
Isn't that something?
I've heard, does a bear shit in the woods?
Didn't somebody make it about the Pope?
Popes certainly have.
Does the Pope shit in the woods? I mean, it's on Wiktionary. It has to be true. So, guys, does Frankenstein shit in the woods?